Hey everyone. Imagine a secret so beautiful, yet so dangerous, that three powerful armies are hunting it across the cosmos. For Lyrian Valera, that secret was her 7-year-old daughter Lyrel Vale, silver-haired, purple-skinned, and impossibly precious. This is the story of how Lyrel, scared and on the run, crashed into the isolated life of a former Black Ops commander named Kale Draven, a man hiding on the autumnal planet Orenfall, and forced him to pick up his sword again. He thought he was done with war, but to protect the family he never intended to build, he had to face not just the ruthless House Silvara, but the deadly Ebon Covenant and another enemy even worse. This fight starts small but it ends in fire. Before we venture deeper into the golden forests of Orenfall and uncover the ancient bloodline Lyrel carries, please do me a quick favor. Smash that like button. Seriously, every like, share, and subscription helps this channel reach the audience it deserves, and it only takes a second. If you're new here, hit subscribe and the bell so you don't miss the rest of this epic story. Now tell me in the comments, if you could choose any fictional planet to hide on, which one would it be? And, of course, drop your suggestions for the next story. Now let's see how Kale Draven gets roped into the most ridiculous contract of his life. The air in that smuggler hold was thick with engine grease, salt, and the raw, animal desperation of a woman fighting for life. Lyrian Valera, the once revered noble, gritted her teeth against the rising scream, the taste of salt and fear heavy on the leather strap between her jaws. The cold, unforgiving metal floor was a fitting delivery room for a life born on the run. Outside the hull, Lyrian could feel the whispers of the patrol vessels, the signature engine hum of her family's gold-armored fleet, those relentless hunters of House Silvara, sweeping the darkness, searching for their runaway prize across 3 star systems. Lyrian knew the price of this moment. 7 years ago, she was destined for a loveless political marriage. A cold arrangement to trade her happiness for her family's prestige and power in the Concordium of 5 moons. That was until she met him. He went by Revan. She called herself Saris. 2 months of pure, reckless life, spent laughing in portside bars and feeling utterly alive for the very first time. No names, no history, just a fierce, stupid love. The positive test result ended the fantasy. Lyrian knew her uncle, the ruthless Varen Val Silvara, would kill the father slowly and raise the child in the same gilded cage that had suffocated her. So she ran, leaving a note with 3 simple words: "Don't find me." Now, with a final desperate surge, the child came. Silent. Then a tiny demanding sound of existence. Lyrian saw her, skin the luminous deep purple of a nebula, hair a startling almost liquid silver, and immense golden eyes that blinked open and stared at her mother with what looked like an ancient, knowing challenge. Lyrel was living proof that the bloodline of the ancient, star-born alien people, the Elvane, had fused with her human nobility, a secret that could, if discovered, shatter the fragile galactic peace. Lyrian pulled the infant close, whispering a promise into the soft silver hair: "Your name is Lyrel Vale, and I will burn galaxies to keep you free." 7 years passed in a heartbeat of borrowed time, fast, nervous years of false identities, low-gravity havens, and constant, quiet movement. Lyrian taught Lyrel to be quiet, to be invisible, and most importantly, to run. She knew her family, specifically the cold, elegant, and utterly relentless Varen Val Silvara, would never stop. And then the door of their latest hiding spot, a cramped orbital station apartment, exploded inward. The guards of House Silvara, in their signature gold armor, filled the room like a spreading, lethal stain. Lyrian had 3 seconds. 1 to grab Lyrel, 1 to shove her toward the back window, and 1 last moment to meet those terrified golden eyes. Run. Lyrel. Run, do not stop. Find him. Tell him Saris sent you. A hand grabbed Lyrian's hair, slamming her to the ground, but she didn't look away from the window until the last flash of silver hair disappeared into the alleyway. The transport ship door slammed shut, cutting off the light, but in the sudden darkness, Lyrian smiled. Varen had his political prize, but he had lost the secret heir, the true key, and he had no idea what kind of storm he had just unleashed. Hundreds of light years away on the planet Orenfall, Kale Draven, the former commander, the hermit who went by the alias Revan, didn't see the leaf he cut, but he felt it. The world was a tapestry of endless gold and amber leaves, perpetually falling, perpetually reminding him of the passage of time and the slow, grinding guilt of his past. The 43 faces he failed to save during his time in the elite Obsidian Lance Legion. He trained blindfolded, a self-imposed penance, trying to exhaust his body enough to silence the dreams. "You're too angry," a voice chirped. Vare sat on a stump, gnawing on a root. He was small, round, covered in brown fur, looking like a stuffed animal that someone gave up on, yet he was a sage of 3,000 years, the last guardian of the Elvane bloodline, who had simply shown up 3 years ago, moved in and proceeded to critique everything. Kale was in his rhythm now. Step, cut, pivot, breathe. Then his sword stopped. Something soft and trembling pressed against the blade's edge. He tore off the blindfold and found her. A girl, tiny, 7, purple skin smeared with dirt, silver hair sticking out in every direction, and immense golden eyes staring back at him. "Hi," she said, a tiny, desperate greeting. Kale short-circuited. Then he exploded. "What the actual hell? This is private property. Can't you read? I could have taken your head off." Vare sighed. "Kale, look at her. Actually look." The girl was trembling, her gaze fixed fearfully on the trees. She had a bruise on her cheek and a look Kale recognized, raw, desperate terror. "They're coming," she whispered. 6 figures emerged from the tree line. Heavy, dark armor, weapons that could level a building. The emblem on their shoulders, the claw of the Ebon Covenant, S-class mercenaries. Their leader stepped forward, a massive synthetic jaw gleaming in the light. "Draxus Vorn." "Step aside, farmer," Draxus Vorn's augmented voice rumbled. "The girl comes with us." Kale sheathed his sword. Draxus Vorn grinned. "Smart choice." Kale moved. Not fast. Beyond fast. A blur of motion that defied physics. He was Revan, the infamous ghost of the Obsidian Lance, and he fought with the precise, non-lethal efficiency of a predator. 5 mercenaries dropped, disabled by precise strikes to nerve clusters and joints. Draxus Vorn, stunned, ignited his plasma blade. Kale dodged the strikes, caught the mercenary's wrist, and drove the man's own blade into his thigh. The scream echoed through the golden trees. "Tell your employers," Kale leaned close, "that the next ones won't walk away at all." He released him. Kale turned to the girl, fury replacing the cold combat focus. "Name? Are they hunting you?" Her fear returned, heavy and older than her years. "Bad people took my mom. They said if I don't go back they'll hurt us both." Kale walked toward his cabin. "Go west. There's a town. Police, consulates. Someone will help." "They won't. They're all bought." "Not my problem." The door slammed in her face. Lyrael stood in the clearing, tears running down her purple cheeks, but she made no sound. She had learned to cry quietly. Vare waddled up beside her. "He's not mean. He's broken. Like many things around here. He won't help yet. Tell me, what's your mother's name?" She pronounced it carefully, Lyrian Valera. Crash. Something hit the floor inside the cabin. Kale stood in the frame, his face frozen. "What did you say?" Lyrael explained, "Lyrian Valera. She's from a trade house. It's like a big family but not really a family." Kale rubbed his forehead, the memories of Saris, the beautiful, reckless noblewoman he had loved, flooding his mind. He finally understood. Lyrael was his. "Damn it," he muttered. "Fine, get inside, but only until morning." Inside the cluttered cabin, Lyrael recounted everything. Her mother always moving, never staying, the bad man, Uncle Varen, and running until she found Kale. "House Silvara," Kale said when she finished. "An army against one man. I can't help with that. I'm one man with a sword and a bad attitude." Vare climbed onto the table. "He doesn't help for free. He might help if you offer the right payment." "I don't want money," Kale snapped. He grabbed paper and pen. "Service for service." Kale wrote as he spoke, asterisk, "I, Lyrael Vale, promise, if this man saves my mother, I will work for him for 20 years. No arguments. Do what I'm told. Star." Lyrael blinked. 20 years? That's a lot. Then find another idiot willing to fight an army for a kid he just met. Her hand shook, but the stubbornness in her jaw settled. "If it saves Mama," she signed the paper with crooked letters. "We leave in a few days," Kale announced. For the next few days, Kale kept his word on 2 things. He kept her safe and he started training her. Not because he wanted to, but because he was an honest man and he'd signed a ridiculous contract. The first morning, Lyrael watched his sword dance from the window. The fourth, she stood behind him with a stick, attempting to copy his brutal, flawless movements. "What are you doing?" he demanded. "I'm copying. You go whoosh whoosh." Kale should have told her to go away. Instead, he found himself correcting her stance. "Feet wider. Hold the stick tighter. The strike comes from your hip, not the arm." She failed. She tried again. She failed worse. She kept trying. Her arms shook, her face was streaked with sweat and dirt, but she never complained. "Enough for today," Kale finally said. "I can do more." Contract says no arguing. Enough means enough, he growled, walking away. That evening Vare found Kale cleaning his sword. You're teaching her. Lyrian's name bothered you. Names bother me. It's a common name. I heard it somewhere. News reports. Trade houses are always in the news. Vare made a sound that held 3 millennia of exasperation. The human capacity for self-deception never ceases to amaze me. You're going to stare at the ceiling and think about 43 people whose deaths weren't your fault while ignoring the 2 people still alive who might actually need you. On day 5, Lyrael was still there, practicing her terrible footwork. Kale showed her again and again, driving her until her arms shook so badly she could barely lift the stick. When until we go save Mama? Lyrael asked during a water break. Few more days. Need supplies. A ship. Information. I'm really good at finding stuff. Mama says I could find a needle in a space station. Do you ever stop talking? Kale asked, exasperated. Only when I'm sleeping. And Mama says sometimes not even then. Lyrael giggled. It was a small, rusty sound, but it cracked something in Kale's chest. He ignored it. Will you teach me more tomorrow? She asked. Maybe, he said, not turning around. Her face lit up like a promised kingdom. Kale walked inside, the sound of the latch final, knowing he was already in far deeper than a 20-year contract. He was in for the fight of his life against a dynasty, an army, and a truth he had tried to bury for 7 years. 5 days. That was the deadline Kale Draven gave them before the hunt began in earnest, before they had to abandon the perfect anonymity of Orenfall. The planet felt suddenly heavy, ominous, its golden leaves now seeming to whisper of urgency and danger. Kale, fueled by a mixture of residual guilt and the persistent, legally binding annoyance of the contract, drove Lyrael relentlessly. He was meticulous, harsh, and utterly silent, teaching her the brutal truths of movement and defense. Lyrael, for her part, met his intensity with pure, exhausting stubbornness. Footwork, Lyrael. Kale snapped, his voice sharp enough to cut stone. You move like a clumsy goose. If you're going to be my apprentice for 20 years, you need to learn how to keep up. I'm not a goose. And I'm only 7. You're too fast, she panted, her little stick dropping to the mossy ground. The enemy doesn't care about your age. Kale roared, instantly regretting the harshness when he saw her golden eyes well up. Vare, perched on Kale's shoulder, offered a running commentary. She has heart, Kale. And she is learning the first lesson of the Aelvani bloodline. The universe is merciless. Give her a compliment, or I'll eat your last nutrient bar. Kale scowled, struggling to form a word of praise. Fine. You are marginally less clumsy than yesterday. Now pick up the stick. The small moment of grudging approval was a solar flare for Lyrael. She snatched the stick, her exhaustion momentarily forgotten, and attacked his defensive stance with a sudden, joyful ferocity. In the quiet evenings, while Lyrael slept curled up by the fire, Vare finally explained the true scope of the disaster. The Aelvani are an ancient, nearly extinct, starfaring species. Lyrael's true royal blood carries an almost mystical command over technology. Your former employers, the Concordium of 5 Moons, fear this power, but House Silvara wants it. Varen sees Lyrael as the key to dominating the other houses. So she's a target and a prize, Kale muttered. Just great. She is family, Kale, Vare corrected gently. And now you are too. This is bigger than the 43 ghosts you mourn. This is the present. This is life. As they prepared to leave, the war was already escalating light years away. On the opulent, towering city planet Calestis Spire, Varen Val Silvara was furious over the failure of the Ebon Covenant. Draxus Vorn reported a single individual, Varen said, his voice dangerously soft. A hermit with a sword who disabled 6 of your elite. Is this the standard of the most expensive mercenary guild in the Concordium? Draxus Vorn, humbled and bruised, confirmed the man's identity was the legendary ghost of the Black Ops Legion, Revan. Varen, recognizing the familiar name and the connection to his sister Lyrian, shifted his focus. He immediately contacted his true asset, a man whose military mind was as sharp as Kale's, and whose personal sense of betrayal was even sharper, Corvin Hale. Corvin was a high-ranking commander in the Obsidian Lance, a decorated war hero, and the man Kale had abandoned 5 years ago when the 43 incident broke the Legion. Corvin saw Kale's disappearance as the ultimate betrayal of their sacred bond and their military code. Varen offered him everything. Authorization to deploy the full Obsidian Lance on a Black Ops mission. Corvin Hale, Varen purred. We have located the target's asset, the traitor Revan. He is protecting a fugitive and her child, a threat to galactic stability. I have authorized full deployment. Bring Lyrian back alive. The others are disposable. Corvin Hale, his face etched with cold determination, nodded. Lord Varen, you have our commitment. The Obsidian Lance has been waiting a long time to correct the mistakes of Revan. The Second Army, driven by bitter, righteous vengeance, was now mobilized and on the hunt. Kale's stripped-down freighter, fast and anonymous, sliced through the void, headed for the massive, lawless orbital crossroads known as the Drift Nexus. It was the perfect place to disappear and the perfect place to get killed. Lyrael, mesmerized by the flashing neon and the 1,000 different alien languages, clung to Kale's jacket. Wow, Revan. It's so shiny. Is this where Mama used to go dancing? Your mother went to political dinners, child, Kale corrected, though he remembered the reckless nights with Saris in places exactly like this. And stop calling me Revan out here. My name is Kale. And keep your eyes open. This place is full of pickpockets and worse. Pickpockets are easy, Lyrael whispered. They always move their hands too fast. Like this. She subtly relieved Kale of his emergency credit chip, then held it up with a triumphant grin. Kale stopped dead, staring at the chip. Give me that back. See? I'm useful. Contract rules. No arguing, she chirped. Kale rubbed his temples, feeling the beginnings of a headache that only interstellar travel and accidental parenting could provide. His purpose on the station was information. He met an old black market contact in a smoky booth. The contact's news was bad. House Silvara has put a price on the girl's head so high it's attracted every mercenary in the sector, the contact hissed. But that's not the problem, Kale. What is? The Obsidian Lance is active. Full, Black Ops deployment. And the man leading the hunt, it's Corvin Hale. They're not chasing a fugitive. They're chasing you. Corvin thinks you're an embarrassment that needs to be permanently cleaned up. Kale felt a chill that cut deeper than the cold vacuum of space. The Ebon Covenant were hired guns driven by greed. Corvin Hale was his brother-in-arms, his lieutenant, his friend, driven by bitter, personal betrayal. Just as Kale absorbed the shock, the comms on his wrist unit exploded with a piercing alarm. The Obsidian Lance had found their ship and were locking down the departure gate. They were here already. Run. There, take the child. Get to the freight elevator. Kale ordered, pulling his plasma pistol. No, Revan. Contract. I'm your apprentice. The freight elevator is an ambush. Look. Lyrael shouted, pulling him the opposite way. She pointed a small, purple finger at the station map embedded in the floor. Kale's enhanced sight barely registered it, but the 7-year-old Aelvana saw it instantly, a tiny flickering power signature near the elevator shaft. The Obsidian Lance commandos, veterans of 1,000 wars, had made a classic trap. They're watching the main choke points, Lyrael analyzed, her voice suddenly focused and clear. We need to go vertical. Kale stared at her, stunned. She had analyzed the tactical situation faster than he had. The maintenance shaft, Kale conceded, holstering his gun. Lead the way, Lyrael. They scrambled into the dark, dusty maintenance tunnels. Kale followed, watching the silver hair bobbing ahead, accepting the ridiculous notion that he was taking tactical advice from a child. They were ambushed. 3 Obsidian Lance commandos blocked the way, their faces grim and unyielding. Revan ***. Stand down. Commander Hale wants you alive, one shouted. The commando fired a non-lethal stasis net. Lyrael slammed her hand against a conduit panel. The metal was immediately covered in a flickering, golden energy, the visible manifestation of her power. The commando's net sputtered and died. The plasma charge instantly reversed into the gun's power core. The weapon went dead. Kale blinked once, then smiled, a ferocious, proud, battle-ready smile. Nice job, kid. He moved, his sword slamming the first commando's weapon aside, delivering a non-lethal jab to the kidney. The second commando found himself slammed against the wall. The third hesitated for a fraction of a second, shocked by the power surge in Kale's raw speed. Kale punched him clean in the jaw. Tell Corvin I said hello, Kale whispered, dragging the unconscious men into a supply closet. They made it back to the freighter, Kale carrying Lyrael, who was now exhausted, the surge of Aelvana power having drained her little body. As they jumped to FTL, Kale stared out the viewport, watching his former friend, Corvin Hale, flash on an encrypted emergency broadcast. He is a traitor, a murderer, and a deserter, Corvin's voice boomed. The obsidian lance will track him to the edge of the galaxy and bring him to justice. Kale turned the comms off. He won't stop, he muttered to Vare. Neither will the Ebon Covenant. Vare, who was busy trying to repair the electrical damage Lyrell's power surge had caused, nodded grimly. 2 armies. And that leaves the third. The third. Kale looked up, finally focusing. The scene shifted, miles away, in the dark, silent depths of the black hole prison known as the Hollow Star Vault. Lyrian Valera, chained but defiant, stood before Varen Val Silvara. I know what you want, Varen, Lyrian spat. The Aelvani bloodline. You'll never have her. Oh, my dear sister, Varen chuckled, gesturing to a figure standing silently in the shadows. The figure was tall, draped in veils of black silk, seemingly made of shadow itself. It was Asheveth the Veiled, the legendary alien assassin, leader of the most feared syndicate in the Outer Rim. The Ebon Covenant hunts for the bounty. The Obsidian Lance hunts for revenge, Varen explained, his smile chilling. But the Asheveth is here for the true power. The power that flows from the Aelvana blood, the power I need to control the galaxy. And Asheveth is here to ensure that you tell us exactly where your daughter is hiding, Lyrian. Lyrian gasped, realizing her daughter wasn't just being hunted by 2 human armies, but by an ancient, alien threat whose power she couldn't even comprehend. 3 armies, all converging on a 7-year-old girl and the reluctant father who had only just found her. The tiny escape pod, never meant for deep space, groaned under the impossible strain of FTL travel, the hull protesting every microsecond of the jump. Kale Draven clung to the exterior ramp, the wind of the warp tearing at his exposed armor, while Lyrell and Vare were strapped inside the cramped cockpit. Behind them, the silent, black vessel of Asheveth the Veiled had shadowed their wake, an ominous dot of pure, implacable darkness against the swirling star field. They had to outrun not just 2 human armies, but an ancient, cosmic hunter who moved with purpose that defied logic. We're taking too long to power up the hyperdrive for a long jump, Kale radioed into the cockpit, his voice strained. Asheveth is gaining ground. Lyrell, I need your help. The conduit is fried from the last surge. I need to bypass the stabilizer and shunt power directly from the main shield generator. It was a suicidal maneuver, leaving the ship momentarily defenseless, but it was their only chance for a cold jump into the void. Kale guided her through the sequence, his expertise as a combat engineer kicking in. Lyrell, using Vare's tiny, surprisingly strong claws to help her pry open the panel, plunged her small hand into the tangle of sparking wires. A visible corona of golden energy engulfed her hand. The child winced, the power of the Aelvanis surging through her, pushing the little ship's engine core past its limits. With a sickening lurch, the hyperdrive engaged, shooting the pod through the void and leaving Asheveth far behind. Kale scrambled back inside, exhausted but grinning with a fierce pride. You're the best engineer I've ever worked with, kid. 20 years is looking like a steal. Lyrell, though weak, returned his smile. I'm worth it, Revan. Now where are we going? Kale, catching his breath, looked at Vare, who was busy trying to repair the electrical wreckage Lyrell's power surge had left behind. To the deepest, darkest hole in the galaxy where your mother is being held, Kale said, his voice grim. But first we go to Caladan 9. Caladan 9 was a scorched, forgotten mining colony, Kale's last command post, the place where he had witnessed the 43 incident, and had broken from the Obsidian Lance. It was a ghost town, a graveyard of secrets and shattered loyalties. Vare had been insistent. Corvin Hale will anticipate you running for the edges of the galaxy. He won't expect you to go back to the source of his pain. We need weapons, armor, and information only you can retrieve from those ruins. And we need to leave a message for your dear friend. Kale knew the ruins better than his own memory, and if he could move faster than Corvin's pursuit, he could access the secured armory and the encrypted data logs detailing the 43 incident. The truth that he'd sacrificed his career and his honor to protect. They dropped onto the planet in the dead of night, the air thick with dust and the silence of 100,000 ghosts. Kale, now wearing salvaged Obsidian Lance tactical armor he'd hidden years ago, moved like a phantom. Lyrell, small and agile in her new dark uniform, darted ahead, her hand pressed against the walls. Laser grid is down, she whispered into the comms. The central sensor is struggling. Give me 3 seconds. She pressed her palm to a junction box, and with a faint golden shimmer pulsing from her hand, the locked armory door hissed open. Inside, Kale quickly retrieved military-grade armor for himself, medical supplies, and most importantly, the hard drive containing the archived data on the 43 incident. As he worked, he spoke. The 43 incident? Corvin blames me for those deaths. He thinks I disobeyed orders and caused a massacre. But the command came from higher up, from a general in the Concordium of 5 Moons who was on House Silvara's payroll. They sent us to secure a relic that House Silvara wanted, and 43 soldiers were disposable collateral. You protected the name of your friend, Corvin Hale, and took the blame? Vare asked, perched on a crate. No. I protected the evidence. I knew the obsidian lance would be destroyed if the truth of the corruption at the top got out. I broke, yes. But I broke with the truth tucked safely away, Cale admitted, clipping the hard drive to his belt. Now Corvin can finally know. Just as they were preparing to leave, the comms crackled. Revan ****. I know you're there. This is Corvin Hale. Stand down, you traitor. The obsidian lance, highly efficient and relentless, had already found them. Corvin Hale, driven by 5 years of boiling rage and betrayal, led the charge. The ruins lit up with the muzzle flashes of plasma rifles. He's not alone, Revan. 5 squads. Lyrael reported instantly, pointing at her enhanced visor display which showed the tactical deployment. And the energy signature. I see Draxus Vorn. The Ebon Covenant is here too. They're using the obsidian lance as bait. The 2 human armies had converged, a deadly crossfire in the making. The obsidian lance was focused on capturing Cale, while the Ebon Covenant was focused on seizing Lyrael in the ensuing chaos. Vare, get Lyrael to the escape pod. The armory floor is structurally weak. I'll buy you time, Cale ordered. No. Contract. I'm your apprentice, not cargo. Lyrael shouted, pulling him the opposite way. Fine. Then stay with Vare and do what he says. Cale snapped, drawing his sword. Cale burst out of the armory, moving into the kill zone. The Obsidian Lance commandos were professionals, but Cale knew their doctrine, their blind spots, and their attack patterns intimately. He was fighting himself 5 years ago. He moved in a blinding display of grace and brutality, disarming and disabling his former comrades with non-lethal strikes, knowing he couldn't kill the men he once commanded. Then Draxus Vorn stepped into the light, his cybersuit gleaming. I'm here for the girl, Revan. You can't fight an army and a guild. Watch me, Cale snarled. Their blades met, plasma against monofilament. Draxus Vorn was brute strength. Cale was kinetic poetry. Cale let the mercenaries' attack lead him, then used Draxus Vorn's own weight against him, forcing him back toward a crumbling wall. Cale then planted a small explosive charge onto the mercenaries' backplate. See you in the debris, Cale said and sprinted away, diving for cover as the charge detonated, sending Draxus Vorn crashing through the wall in a cloud of dust. Cale used the distraction to reach the secure comms center. He quickly keyed in the encryption sequences to the Obsidian Lance's command ship. A moment later, Corvin Hale's face appeared, tight with rage. You're finished, Revan? There's nowhere to run. Corvin yelled. Cale held up the small hard drive. I'm not running, Corvin. I'm giving you a choice. I have the archive on the 43 incident. The truth. You've hunted me for 5 years, but you've been chasing a lie. This drive will show you who really ordered the massacre. It was House Silvara. Corvin's eyes flickered, the anger momentarily replaced by doubt. It's a trick, traitor. You're lying. I never lie about the lives of my men, Cale said, his voice flat with pain. Find the encrypted access code in the abandoned barracks, Unit 4, Locker 43. Download the data. Read the logs. Then decide if you want to keep hunting the man who saved your honor, or join the man who has your sister captive. Cale cut the connection, his work done. He had weaponized the truth. Now he just had to survive the ensuing chaos. He raced back to the armory, finding Lyrael and Vare safely in the escape pod. Time to go. Hold on. Lyrael shouted. She was holding a loose energy conduit, her golden power visible again. I need to reverse the comm system's coordinates. The Third Army is here. As Lyrael slammed the conduit back into the wall, a new, terrifying signal appeared on the tactical screen. A signature of absolute stealth, a ship that registered as nothing. The Asheveth, Vare whispered, fear finally entering his ancient voice. Their leader, Asheveth the Veiled. They don't hunt for money or revenge. They hunt for the pure Aelvani blood, for ritual sacrifice. The ramp of their escape pod was now blocked by a figure draped entirely in black silk. Asheveth the Veiled. They were not human, not alien, but something else entirely, a being of ancient, terrifying intent. They moved with an inhuman silence, their veils hiding everything but a hint of a monstrous form beneath. HFY didn't speak, but a chilling presence filled the pod. Their long, skeletal hand reached for Lyrel. Kale reacted instantly. He pushed Lyrel behind him and met the attack with his sword. The creature's touch was toxic. The silk veil seemed to melt the metal of his blade on contact. Kale abandoned the sword, drew his sidearm and fired a full clip of energy bolts. The shots did nothing, the creature acting like a sponge for energy, but it bought them a single second. Go. Now. Kale yelled, throwing the activation switch. The escape pod fired, slamming out of the loading bay and into the sky. Kale jumped onto the exterior ramp just as HFY launched their own small vessel into pursuit. The air on Caladan 9 was now a war zone. Plasma fire from the Obsidian Lance was exchanged with laser fire from the retreating Ebon Covenant forces. In the middle of the carnage, a single, silent black ship chased a small escape pod. Kale looked back at the planet, watching the war he'd started. He had sacrificed his chance to clear his name to keep his daughter safe. He had escaped 2 armies, but the third, the oldest and deadliest, was now breathing down their necks, silent and relentless. He knew the fight was just beginning. And he knew exactly where he had to go next, to the Black Hole Prison, the Hollow Star Vault, where Lyrian Valera was waiting for her promise to be fulfilled. The escape pod, designed for short-range atmospheric flight, screamed under the impossible forces of the void, its hull groaning under the strain of interstellar travel. Kale, clinging to the exterior ramp, the wind of FTL jump ripping at his armor, could feel the energy surging from the small ship's unstable core. Lyrel and Vare were strapped inside, and even with the distance they had bought, the silent, black vessel of HFY the Veiled still shadowed their wake, an ominous dot of pure darkness against the swirling star field. They had to be faster. We're taking too long to power up the hyperdrive for a long jump, Kale radioed into the cockpit, his voice strained. HFY is gaining ground. Lyrel, I need your help. The power conduit is fried from the last surge. I need to bypass the stabilizer and shunt power directly from the main shield generator. It was a suicidal maneuver that would leave them defenseless, but it was their only chance for a deep, cold jump out of the pursuing assassin's reach. Kale guided her through the sequence, his former life as a combat engineer kicking in. Lyrel, using Vare's tiny, surprisingly strong claws to help her pry open the panel, plunged her hand into the tangle of sparking, exposed wires. A visible corona of golden energy engulfed her hand. The child winced, the power of the Elvanis surging through her, pushing the tiny ship's engine core past its theoretical limits. With a sickening, violent lurch, the hyperdrive engaged. Jump successful. Lyrel yelled, her voice a strained whisper of relief as she collapsed back into the chair, the energy drain hitting her hard. Kale scrambled inside, exhausted but grinning with a fierce, proud intensity. You're the best engineer I've ever worked with, kid. 20 years is looking like a steal. Lyrel, though weak, returned his smile. I'm worth it, Revan. Now where are we going? Kale caught his breath, his eyes fixed on the navigational readouts. To the deepest, darkest hole in the galaxy where your mother is being held. The Hollow Star Vault. The Hollow Star Vault was an engineering nightmare, a fortress built not of stone or metal, but of pure gravitational forces. The prison orbited a small, unstable black hole, using the crushing gravity and the isolation of the event horizon to ensure no prisoner ever escaped, and no unauthorized vessel ever approached. Varen Val Silvara had chosen it for its absolute, unbreachable security. But Kale knew the vault intimately. As a top operative in the Obsidian Lance, he had once been tasked with designing its security protocols, and in his paranoia, he had built a single flaw into the system. A security oversight that allowed top brass to discreetly enter and exit without the full, paralyzing authorization sequence. The supply tether, Kale explained, pointing at the schematics on the screen. It's the only physical link to the station. Every 3 cycles, a supply shuttle docks. It has a thermal weakness in the hull shielding. I designed it to fail if someone tried to cook the manifests. We're going to sneak in on a supply shuttle? Lyrel asked. No, Kale corrected, tightening his belt. We're going to steal the supply shuttle, and you're going to exploit the weakness I created. They intercepted the shuttle 10 sectors out in a brutal, textbook Obsidian Lance maneuver, fast, clinical, and leaving no survivors on the freighter. Kale and Lyrel, hidden inside the shuttle's cargo bay, were now on a one-way trip to the Black Hole Prison. As they approached the station, Lyrel, clutching Kale's hand for reassurance, pressed her focus into the ship's terminal. The thermal signature is green. I can see the shield array. I need to push the internal power flow at the exact moment of docking. It will overload the shuttle's shield but not the station's. Do it, Lyrel. And be ready to run. With a flash of golden energy and a violent explosion of heat, the shuttle's shield failed just as it connected to the vault's docking clamps. Alarms blared across the station. Kale, now wearing his full tactical armor and wielding 2 plasma pistols, kicked the shuttle door open. All right, kid. Time to earn that 20-year contract. The prison was chaos. Kale, a whirlwind of practiced combat, cut a path through the Silvara-hired security forces. He was fast, relentless, and focused on one goal: the solitary confinement sector where high-value prisoners were kept. They were near the detention block when Lyrel suddenly screamed, a tiny, terrified sound that cut Kale to the core. Revan ****. They're here. The station shuddered violently. On the screen, a new tactical alert flashed. Obsidian Lance ships had jumped into the sector. Corvin Hale had read the data on the 43 incident. His rage had not vanished, it had simply shifted. He wasn't hunting a traitor, he was hunting the Silvara house, now exposed as the true culprits. Corvin didn't want Kale, he wanted revenge for his men, and he had come to destroy the Hollowstar Vault and everyone in it, including Varen Val Silvara. Corvin is attacking the prison. He's going to breach the hull. Kale shouted, realizing the severity of the threat. Just as the Obsidian Lance began their orbital assault, a second, more insidious threat appeared. Through the station's massive panoramic viewport, Kale saw it. The black, silent vessel of Asheveth the Veiled had followed them through the warp jump. It was already docking at a service port on the opposite side of the station. The Asheveth is coming for you, Lyrel. Vare yelled, clinging to Kale's shoulder armor. They will bypass all security and come straight for the Aelvana source. Kale was now caught between 3 battles: the prison security, the external assault by his former friend Corvin Hale, and the silent, deadly approach of Asheveth. The ground was literally shaking. Kale and Lyrel finally reached the detention sector. There, in a luxurious, heavily shielded cell, was Lyrian Valera. She was pale, chained to a console, but her eyes held the same fierce determination Kale remembered. ****Saris****, Kale whispered, dropping his pistols and running to her side. ***Revan****, Lyrian breathed, a single tear falling down her cheek. She looked past him to Lyrel, then smiled, her face lighting up despite the chains. You kept your promise. She's the one who found me, Kale said, unlocking the restraints. He was trembling not from fear but from the raw emotion of seeing her. The 2 most important people in his life were finally in the same room. The tension broke again, unexpectedly, violently. Papa! Lyrel suddenly cried, rushing forward and collapsing into Kale's legs. You're not my real dad. The silence in the room was absolute, a void swallowing the alarms and explosions. Kale froze, his heart stopping. Lyrian's face turned white with shock. Lyrel looked up, her golden eyes streaming with tears, but her small voice was clear, the ultimate acceptance ringing true. You're not my real dad, you're better. Kale, the hardened Black Ops commander who hadn't cried in a decade, crumpled. He scooped her up in a fierce hug, tears blurring his vision under the helmet. I know, kid. I know. Lyrian watched, a genuine, joyful smile finally breaking through her fear, the small family unit complete just as their world was ending. We don't have time for this, as heartwarming as it is. Bear shrilled. ***Varen*** is approaching from the main corridor, and Asheveth is cutting through the ventilation. Kale's command persona returned instantly, replacing the tearful father. Lyrian, your uncle has you chained to the main console. Lyrel says you're here because he wants to extract the Aelvana power from you. What is he after? The Aelvana heart, Lyrian explained quickly, pulling Kale closer to the console. It's a massive energy source that Lyrel's blood can activate. Varen wants to use it to control the Concordium's main fleet. She pointed to a hidden panel. The core is buried beneath this cell. He's coming to activate it now. The door hissed open and Varen Val Silvara stepped out, flanked by his personal guard. He was calm, elegant, and smiling with aristocratic cruelty. Ah, sister. And Revan. I knew you couldn't resist. A perfect reunion. But you're too late. He looked at Kale. You ruined your career for a lie. You ran from responsibility. Now you'll die here for a child that isn't even your own. You're wrong, Varen, Kale said, stepping in front of Lyrian and Lyrel. She's mine. And I'm not running anymore. Just as Varen prepared to fire, the wall behind him exploded inward. Asheveth the Veiled dropped from the ceiling, silent and deadly, ignoring Kale and the guards completely. Its long, skeletal hand shot out, not for Lyrian but for Varen. "You interrupt the sacrifice." Varen screamed, firing his plasma rifle at the veiled assassin. The energy bolts dissipated harmlessly against Asheveth's black silk cloak. Asheveth hadn't come for Lyrael yet, it had come for the man who was defiling the ancient Aelvana power. Varen was the sacrificial offering to purify the power source before they took the true air. The fight between Varanus guards and Asheveth was a chaotic, terrifying distraction. Kale seized the moment. "Lyrael, your mother is closest to the activation console. She knows the sequence. Can you override the control and disable the Aelvana heart?" Lyrael, energized by the threat and her acceptance of Kale, nodded fiercely. "I can. But I need to overload the console. It might hurt Mama." "Lyrian, can you hold the core long enough for her to destroy the panel?" Kale asked, his eyes focused on the life or death decision. "Do it," Lyrian said, looking at Kale, then at her daughter. "Free us, Lyrael." Lyrael placed her hands on the heavy console. Her golden power flared, a brilliant, blinding light. The console shrieked under the massive energy overload. Kale meanwhile rejoined the battle, using the chaos of Asheveth's attack to fight Varanus' remaining guards. The explosion was deafening. The Aelvana heart was destroyed, the power core gone. Lyrael screamed, her body falling limp as the power drained out of her. The prison shuddered violently again, and on the comms, Corvin Hale announced the hull breach. The clock was ticking. Kale gathered his little family, the only thing that mattered in the whole wide galaxy. The path to freedom was open, but it was leading straight into the largest battle of his life. The collapse of the Aelvana heart, combined with the continuous, punishing bombardment from Corvin Hale's Obsidian Lance fleet, turned the Hollowstar Vault into a gravity-defying kaleidoscope of fire and death. Alarms screamed not just warnings but eulogies for the entire structure. The corridors were fracturing, the metal groaning a metallic death rattle that echoed eerily against the black hole's presence. Kale didn't look back. He had what he came for, and the universe could burn the rest. He scooped up the limp, unconscious body of Lyrael Vale, her small frame utterly exhausted, her strength spent saving her mother and destroying the core. Lyrian Valera, weak but defiant, pressed close to Kale's tactical armor, her eyes fixed on her daughter, her survival instinct renewed and razor-sharp. "The docks. We have to reach the main docking bay. The Obsidian Lance ships are already breaching the outer hull." Kale shouted over the chaos. The cell block behind them was turning into a scene of pure, primal horror. Varen Val Silvera, his elegant suit ripped and stained, was locked in a desperate, losing battle with Asheveth the Veiled. The veiled assassin moved with the unnatural, silent grace of a being that defied physics. It ignored Kale and Lyrian completely, its focus purely on the man who had dared to tamper with and defile the ancient Aelvana power source. Asheveth didn't use plasma or kinetics. Its movements were subtle, toxic strikes that left Varen screaming in prolonged, agonizing disbelief. "You defile the blood." Asheveth's psychic presence slammed into Kale's mind, a chilling threat that shook him to his core, confirming its intent to return for the air. But for now its ritual focused on Varen. Varen is defeated. Vare shrieked, clutching tightly to Kale's shoulder armor as they ran. Asheveth has secured him. The House Silvara threat is collapsing. Kale knew the war for his family was far from over, but the immediate threat, the political and financial engine driving the hunt, had been violently eradicated. They burst into the main docking bay, only to find the entire area locked down by heavily armored Obsidian Lance commandos. Standing at the front of the formation was Corvin Hale, his face a grim mask of military discipline and 5 years of boiling, righteous hatred. Revan. The objective is complete. Varen is neutralized, and House Silvara's corruption is exposed. The Hollowstar Vault is being prepared for self-destruct. Stand down now, you damn fool. Corvin's augmented voice boomed, echoing across the massive, cavernous bay. Kale stopped, Lyrael cradled tightly in his arms, Lyrian leaning against him. He was face to face with the man who had been his brother, his shadow, his accuser, and his best friend. "I know you read the logs, Corvin," Kale said, his voice flat with pain. "You know the truth. You've hunted me for 5 years, but you've been chasing a lie. This time I didn't run. I came back for Lyrian and my daughter." Corvin's helmet turned slowly, his gaze sweeping over Lyrian, then settling on the unconscious Lyrael. The purple skin, the silver hair, The military rumors, the political fiction, all confirmed. Corvin saw the woman Cale had loved, the child Cale had risked everything for, and the undeniable truth. Cale had traded his honor, his military career, and his name for the chance to fight this corruption on his own terms. 5 years, Cale, Corvin finally said, the anger draining from his voice, leaving only raw sorrow. 5 years I hunted a ghost. 5 years I believed you were a murderer. He lowered his plasma rifle slowly, the sound heavy in the sudden, tense silence. The obsidian lance is not here for you, Revan. We're here for House Silvara. You have 3 minutes to get your family out. After that, we purge the station. It was the only reconciliation Cale needed. Corvin's forgiveness was silence and sacrifice. Corvin was choosing justice for the 43 men they lost over vengeance against his friend. Thank you, Corvin, Cale said simply, the weight of a decade lifting from his shoulders. Corvin didn't reply. He barked orders, all units. Engage external defenses. Lock down the remaining House Silvara assets. Let the cargo shuttle escape. Now. Cale led his family into the shuttle, the last remaining vehicle in the bay. As the ramp sealed, Cale watched Corvin turn his back, leading his forces not toward them, but deeper into the collapsing prison to ensure Varanus' total defeat and the eradication of the Silvara corruption. The shuttle blasted away from the Hollow Star Vault. Moments later, the massive orbital prison, riddled with obsidian lance torpedoes and torn apart by the internal collapse, imploded into a shimmering burst of light and debris near the black hole. The immediate threat was gone. Varen Val Silvara and the corrupted core of House Silvara's plot were history. And Asheveth the Veiled? With the object of their ritual destroyed and the main threat eliminated, they vanished back into the void, their purpose thwarted for now, but the promise of their eventual return lingering like a shadow. For the first time in 7 years, Cale, Lyrian, and Lyrael were safe. The long, quiet journey back to Orenfall was a time of slow, essential healing. Lyrael woke up a few hours later, weak but instantly alert, clutching Cale's hand. Did we save Mama? She whispered. We did, kid. You did, Cale said, kissing her forehead. Lyrian watched them, a profound sense of peace settling over her. You didn't tell me he was this good, Vare? He's adequate, Vare chirped, busy counting the shuttle's remaining fuel cells. And slightly less broken than he was a week ago. The biggest challenge remaining wasn't the armies, but the truth Cale and Lyrian had run from 7 years ago. I should have told you, Lyrian said to Cale late one night, watching Lyrael sleep. I was Saris. I knew if you knew you would risk everything. I couldn't ask you to be hunted. Cale, now just Cale, not Revan, held her hand, his eyes finally clear. I was Revan. I ran from commitment, from pain, from being broken. You taught me the only thing worth fighting for is what you protect. I didn't know she was my daughter, but I knew she was mine. And I'd fight every army in the Concordium again. They returned to Orenfall. The autumn trees were still falling, endless, golden, beautiful, providing a world of perpetual beginnings. Lyrael, fully recovered, was back in the clearing with her stick, arguing fiercely with Cale. My contract says I have to work for 20 years. You said I need to be your apprentice. I want a plasma rifle. You are 7. You get a stick and you work on your footwork. Cale yelled, exasperated, but with a new, weary tenderness in his voice. The contract says no arguing. Lyrael countered, stomping her foot in victory before running her required laps. Vare sat on the porch, watching the stars begin to appear in the twilight sky. 3,000 years. That's how long he'd waited, searched and guided. The last guardian of the Aelvani bloodline, the protector of an ancient people. His duty had been simple: ensure the bloodline survived and ensure the child found her way to a safe home. He'd done more than that. He'd given them a family. Lyrian settled into the chair beside him, her hand resting instinctively on her belly, a small, knowing smile on her face. Are you satisfied? She asked quietly. Vare yawned dramatically, stretching his small, furry body. Me? I'm just an old, fat, wise sage. What would I know about satisfaction? He watched the clearing where Cale and Lyrael were still arguing, their voices carrying through the crisp evening air, stubborn, ridiculous, perfectly matched. Father and daughter. Who would have guessed? Yes, Vare finally said, his golden eyes resting on the small, impossible family. I'm satisfied. Mission complete, Vare thought. And for the first time in 3,000 years, the Guardian let himself truly rest. Some families are born. Some are built. But the best ones are found in falling leaves, broken men, and ridiculous 20-year contracts. And that was the incredible story of Cale Draven, Lyrian Valera, and their fierce little Aelvana daughter Lyrael Vale. I hope this epic tale of redemption, love, and fighting three armies just to keep a family together resonated with you. If you enjoyed the adrenaline, the emotion, and the surprising ending, please hit that like button and share this story with a friend. We need your help to keep bringing these deep sci-fi stories to life. If you haven't yet, please subscribe and explore our channel playlist for more tales of courage and unlikely heroes. Tell me in the comments, which character's journey did you find the most compelling? Kale's redemption, Lyrian's bravery, or Lyrael's stubborn faith? Your suggestions help me pick the next story. Thank you so much for watching, and from me to you, safe journeys, and may your own contracts be slightly less complicated.